Hello guys, and welcome back to r/EntitledPeople. Hope you're all doing awesome today, and it's time for more Reddit stories, so be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into it, friends. Hidden laser, crouching neighbors. I used to live in an apartment complex where there were rows of 6 two-story high townhouse apartments to each building that were facing each other. The driveway and parking area and spaces were in the middle of them, which created a sound-catching amphitheater valley, which amplified all the parking lot sounds. Everyone's parking spaces were in front of their doors. There were idiots galore who played their cars' music loud, or had social hour in front of their houses. I didn't mind that too much, except for when it was late at night and everyone was sleeping. Many bedroom windows faced the center of that amphitheater parking lot, mine included. One night across from me, but not directly across, some drunk couples were loud and sitting out there on their front porch. Someone had drove up and started arguing with the people who were sitting there having social drunk time at 2 a.m., disturbing everyone. A fight almost broke out. The car that came in did not belong to anyone who lived there, and after the car zoomed off, the partiers were louder than ever, continuing their loud conversations. After about a half hour more of this offending ruckus, I quietly eased my window open, got my laser pointer, and shone it onto one of the loud rude neighbors. One of the other people noticed the light on him and told him. They freaked out and all started crouching, ducking, and covering behind cars, scrambling to avoid the red dot being put on them. They thought the people who they had just argued with had come back and had put them in the laser sight of a gun. They all ran into the apartment and off the porch and shut their door, which had been open and playing music for only their pleasure. So rude they were. Soon after, some police cars showed up, whom they must have called because they felt their lives were in danger by some unknown lurker with them in their gun laser sight. I still laugh to this day when I think of them suddenly dropping, crouching, and scrambling, running for cover and getting the hell in their apartment, where they should have been all along. This is one of those things that probably wouldn't have the same effect if it was done on sober people. I mean, of course, even for a sober person, it probably still would creep them out and make them want to go back in their apartment. But you just wouldn't get the same kind of hilarious reaction of these guys freaking out like this, and even calling the police over it. Charged them the same family rate they charged me. My child's daycare had a death in the family. It's a small family-owned place, so this affected all the employees. They sent out an email at like 3 a.m. I couldn't miss work as I had a very important day, so I scrambled to find a sitter just for that day. My stepbrother's girlfriend was basically the only person I know that doesn't work, so I called her. She says, "Sure, but I can only watch him for 6 hours, and I'll give you my family rate, so it will only be $200. I asked if she was serious. She assured me she was, and that this was her livelihood and she takes it very seriously, that she was already offering me a family discount. Please note that it was not her livelihood. My stepbrother has a great job and has always paid for everything. He has tried to get her to do anything to earn money, but she refuses to work and believes he should support her fully, including daily Starbucks, hair, nails, designer stuff, etc. Please also note that I had done a lot for this girl just to help her out. The list is long. I agreed, only because I would have lost my job had I not gone to work that day. I paid her $200, which she demanded up front, to get to work for a little over 4 hours after factoring commute. Fast forward a couple of years, they have separated. They have a kid and she is living for free in his dad's extra house, and driving my dad's extra car for free. The ex pays all the bills and necessities. She finally breaks down and gets a job, because he stopped paying for her hair, nails, etc. She has a day when her childcare falls through, and sends out the same request I did. "Can anyone watch my kid? I have to go to work or I'll get fired." I told her I could absolutely do it, then charged her the same bogus price she charged me. I told her it was the family rate. She cussed me out. Edit. Why either of us would get fired has been asked a ton. Here's why. I was scheduled to teach a seminar for about 400 people. This was extremely expensive to the company, once you factor all the logistics of closing operations for a day, and etc. If I would have last minute canceled, it would have cost them the same twice. Under normal circumstances, I can miss work for an emergency, but not during something like that. I'm a salary employee, so I usually work about 60 hours a week. Taking off after lunch or something isn't a big deal. It was just the magnitude of the event. She worked a job that anyone was qualified for, and was on the chopping block for missing work all the time. Also, it was not her livelihood. At some point, before she got with my stepbrother, she was babysitting for a family for a couple of weeks, but they fired her for being unreliable. She recognized the position I was in, and threw out a number because she knew I had no choice but to pay it. Also note, she cussed me out when I tried to charge her the exact thing she charged me. So no, I wasn't just being cheap. My entitled mother tried to rent my spare room out to her friends. So this happened about 18 months ago. Basically, I began living above a pub that I own. It has a large 2-room living room connected via an archway and a curtain across it. My youngest sister and her friends began staying in one of the living rooms that had the privacy of the curtain. My office was the other living room. This flat also has 2 large bedrooms. Mine is the biggest. My mother was helping me set up the pub, since I had also gone back to university a year prior. My mother hired a chef who lived on an island nearby, e.g. Isle of Man, who had been her friend years back but I had never met. She had offered him a job here because he had been looking to move back home. Then all of a sudden she tells me he'll be staying in the 2nd bedroom for a while until he gets a place sorted. I hated the idea and tried to protest a lot because I did not want a strange man living with me. And this was the first place that I had to myself. I hoped to enjoy being on my own. My mother mentioned that it'll only be a little while, a couple of months max. It didn't matter anyways because the guy ran. My mother's best friend, who had helped me sort the pub out a lot, and I'd known for years, was also in between places at this point. So after the first guy left, I suggested she move her stuff. She said it would only be for a month while she finds somewhere else, so I said no worries, and she moved her stuff in. Then it turned out my mother's other best friend also started to need a place to live, because he didn't want to live at home with his parents anymore. So my mom invited him to live in my flat. When she told me this, I questioned where he would even stay. She replied, "He'll have your room. You stay in that living room with the curtain, and then when first best friend moves out, second best friend will move into that room, and you'll get your room back." When I responded, I didn't really know this best friend that well. In the 10 to 15 years of their friendship, I met the guy only a handful of times. My mother responded, "Oh, it's only until he gets a place. It'll be about 6 months." Whenever I pushed or said I didn't feel comfortable, or I wasn't going to give up my room, she would get annoyed and say she's just trying to help her friend. That Christmas, the first best friend's stuff was still there, but she wasn't staying there. She had her own place, but she had just left a lot of her stuff here for a while. My sister came back from uni for the holidays, and at that time we were discussing that in the summer break she would live here too. My youngest sister was still living in the living room with her friends too. Then my mother said, "Since first best friend has a place now, second best friend can move in." I replied saying that my sister is living here, but that means that my mother had a spare room, so why can't her friend live with her? Her response? "I don't want them, the second best friend and his girlfriend, living with me. I like my space." I replied, "Well, you know him better than I do, so I don't want him living with me either." She responded that he's desperate for a place to stay, and mentally it's taking a toll on him. So I replied again that he should live with her then. She actually got angry because she was just helping her friend. He never ended up moving in, but it felt like my mother was always offering my spare room up to anyone that walked by. My boyfriend actually put a lock on all the doors on the inside for safety when the first guy stayed for a week. Edit just to clarify, I live on my own. None of her friends live with me and I have the place to myself now. Entitled parent sends kids to my house. This morning I was out mowing my lawn. I happened to be wearing a ratty t-shirt that had a logo from a video game that I enjoy playing. We live in a very small town in northern Wisconsin. Everyone just kind of minds their own business, so we never had much interaction with any of our neighbors, which is fine with us. Any one of the houses that is next to ours is a rental property that the owners converted into a duplex. The bottom half is empty and there are 2 adults, male and female, that live in the upper unit with 2 kids. I have never spoken to the parents as they have never made an attempt to even give the neighbor wave when we see the adults outside. However, this morning, the mom starts walking over towards me, so I stop the lawnmower and say good morning. She comments how we have such a big house. I tell her it is because we like having lots of pets, 4 cats and 2 dogs, and we usually adopt the animals that have medical issues, since I am a nurse and my niece is a vet. We make a little more chit-chat and go about finishing mowing the lawn. I go inside to do some other chores, and I hear a knock on the door. I check the cameras, and there are 2 kids standing at my door. I make it a policy that I do not interact with children that do not have a parent with them, especially because I am a gay man, and with the current political state, to me it is better safe than sorry. So I ignore the knocks and continue with my chores. A few minutes go by and the woman I spoke to earlier in the yard is standing there, so I open the door. She is upset that I ignored her children when they came over, as they wanted to play with our pets. I told her that I would never allow children in my house that did not have a parent with them, and that our pets were not play toys for her children. So then she asked if they could play video games, since I must be a gamer because of the shirt I had on. I reiterated that I would never allow children who do not have an adult with them in our home. She then starts going on about how she needs some alone time because her boyfriend left her and she is the only one on the lease because he has bad credit and she cannot afford her rent and she just needs some time to herself. I apologize that she is having a rough time, but that my husband and I would not be willing to entertain her children for her. She looked perplexed for a bit, and I was curious as to what confused her. And then she said something that made me lose it in a major way. She said, "Gross, why do slur for gay people have to be my neighbors?" I replied, "Look here, you nasty c***. You will never say that to me or my husband again. You need to leave right now." And I slammed the door in her face. She kept pounding on our door, screaming all kinds of slurs and obscenities. Because we have had some issues with kids destroying property, we have cameras all over the outside of our house, so I turned on the alarm on all of them. She got the message then and left. Like, what the actual F? I've never been so glad to have cameras everywhere outside. You gotta love it how she was only nice at first when she wanted something out of OP, that being someone she can just pawn her kids off to. No matter the fact that they were complete strangers, too. But as soon as she doesn't get what she wants, her true colors really show. With these types of people, it really doesn't take much for them to drop that facade. It is a good thing you have cameras, OP. You really never know what kind of things these kinds of people might try to pull in the future. Man berates baby for crying. So this happened about an hour ago. We went to a restaurant for my aunt's birthday to celebrate her 50th. I created a dog poop cake that she had requested from last year. I had gone up to the bar to request the cake, and as I turned around, a tiny baby let out a very short cry. Bear in mind, this baby hadn't made a sound till that point. All I heard was, what I hope was a drunken fool, shout at the top of his lungs to a waitress, "Get that f***ing baby to stop crying." What the heck? I watched the mother walk out with the baby. She looked upset. Don't blame her. As I got back to my table, all I heard was this awful fool mimic the baby crying. Wah, wah. I was disgusted. I told my family, who all agreed how awful this idiot was. A moment later, I saw a chap get up from the table and go to the poor family to apologize for his friend's behavior. A waitress who seemed to be consoling the family looked to be telling this chap off before walking away. The fool was then berated by staff. All I could think was that bit served him right. It seems they were kicked out, but they could have left naturally. Edit to add, my aunt burst out laughing when she saw the cake, literally crying with laughter, and found the whole thing hilarious. She wants rabbit poop next year. I said no. That's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed, and also subscribe to the channel for more. So I'm out of here. Have an awesome day, and until next time.